You ever been harmed by architecture?
Mentally or physically or emotionally.
I knew you were going to go there
because
because, of course.
because I do feel like yes is the answer to all of those. But
All right, we'll start off with physically because I think emotionally is obvious. I just was reminded of this story last night as I got up to use the restroom and went back to bed and turned one step too early and clipped the corner of the platform bed with my shin. Oh man. Okay, so obviously my bed frame is not architecture, but it did remind me of the time. I don't know if I've ever told this story on here before, but when I was doing design build, like a buddy of mine and I, we started our own company called Edifice Design Build, and we had done quite a few projects that the cool thing about doing design build is you only do the drawings to get the permit. You don't have to do everything because you're not spelling it all out for the contractor because you are the contractor, right? So we did a lot of, I learned how to do metal fabrication, and I already knew how to do a lot of wood fabrication. My buddy he knew metal, so we taught each other metal and wood, and then on top of that, we just did a ton of other stuff. But there's this one time, actually, one of our clients were my parents, and the house that they have up in Tahoe, it was a weird house that had a weird addition. And so they had hired us to design a bridge that went into, or, solve this problem. The solution was a bridge. The house previously had like two disparate upstairs areas that were not connected, and they had two separate stairways. And so by removing one, we were able to give some floor area back to the ground floor where we removed that set of stairs. And by putting in this bridge, we were able to connect the two upper floor areas that were previously disconnected. And so the solution included a lot of steel. We fabricated this steel bridge in sections, prefabricated it down here in Southern California, and put them in a trailer and put them up there, and then installed it. And it was crazy because it's giant pieces of steel. But where architecture harmed me in this process was in the fabrication process of the steel bridge pieces. And one day I was in this steel shop with like a 3/4 horsepower Makita, or not a Makita, a Milwaukee. I will always remember the red branded Milwaukee drill of that day, because I was, if anybody has drilled through thick steel, like it was probably, it was a piece of angle iron, and it was, I want to say that the vertical web was probably 3/8 of an inch thick. So thick steel. And it's not on a drill press. It's like, this is already welded together, and we're kind of putting these holes in where we're going to lag it into the structure of the house. And I'm drilling through it with 3/4 horsepower Milwaukee, and it's got like one of those extra handles. Excuse me. It's got one of those extra handles on it, so you can really like hang on to this drill.
Okay. Yeah.
And if you've ever drilled through steel, the difference between drilling through steel and other easier materials to drill through is you go slow.
Yeah.
Because the drill, the bit needs to bite, and you constantly oil it so it doesn't overheat. And, because if you do, then it wears out the bit, and the bits are expensive and all this stuff. So I'm drilling through it, and you stop and you put a little drop of oil in there, and you keep going and keep going. And then at some point, that drill bit, and it did not like allow the bit to continue to spin. So what happens is the drill spins in the opposite direction. Right?
Oh yeah. If the bit doesn't snap, then it catches in it.
And this is like probably a 5/8 inch bit. I mean, it's a big bit because we're putting a big lag bolt through it. Right. So yeah, the bit did not snap. It was not an 1/8 inch bit.
So it bit into the steel,
Yep.
and there's only one other place for it to go, which is the opposite direction you're expecting it to.
Yeah, and think of it like I'm sitting, I'm kneeling on the floor, and I'm pushing forward, but maybe 8 inches off the ground, and so my hands are on top of the drill, right? By doing it this way, not like it's the handle to the drill is off to the right hand side. That's my right hand. That's my strong hand. That's the hand I'm pulling the trigger with to operate the drill. So the drill goes counterclockwise. and it just folds my fingers back over the top of my hand as it just goes, because there's no stopping it. There's just no stopping it. So I heard a giant snap, and like you let go of the trigger as soon as that happens. Basically, the drill completely frees itself of your hands at that point. So it didn't go any farther, and it didn't cause any damage after that. But I immediately like sit back and grab my right hand with my left hand, and I'm like holding it, and I'm like, wow, that really hurts. Like I just got hit in the hand with a baseball bat. And I'm like flexing my fingers. I'm like, I guess it's not broken, like it still works. I can move all my fingers and everything. Then I'm like, oh man, I don't feel good.
Oh no.
So I go in the bathroom and I'm like, I have to pee, but I also need to throw up. Which one should I do? This is the gnarliest bathroom you've ever seen in a steel shop. Like you can only imagine like the worst gas station bathroom you've ever been in, like that times 5. And the next thing I know, like I'm on the floor of this bathroom. I wake up. So I passed out at that point. So none of those things happened. I didn't go pee, nor did I throw up.
You could have been laying in it.
I could have definitely been. And my partner comes running in because, like, I guess as I was going down, I like yelled out his name or something, like, because who knows what happened. But clearly, I was in shock at that point. Probably immediately when it broke my hand, and then after that, just the effects of that were like slowly taking charge of my body, of which I no longer had control over, and it. Basically, from then on, it was like rushed to the hospital. It wasn't a big deal. It wasn't a big break or anything. But it was just, I will always remember that time that architecture harmed me. I'm just wondering if you have anything like that, because this isn't typical, right? Like most architects sit at a computer. We could get RSI, or our backs hurt, or, we've got issues like that are more like, just sitting too much or whatever. But I mean,
it's the current status.
Yeah. So I just thought it would be fun to share if there's anything like that. So my shin's doing okay, and my hand healed fine. So
there's 2 that I can recall. One of them is a pre-architecture, pre-knowing. It's just architecture itself. Well, actually, there's so many of those architecture attacked me. Ones.
Relentless. It's relentless.
But I don't even know if I should tell these stories because they're kind of gruesome. So there's a couple of them. So I'll go with the less gruesome one for now. And this one's, as a kid, I'm at school. Florida is a lot like California, because we talked about this, where, they kind of have like these open campuses where, you don't have like internal courtyards or anything like that, at least in the schools that I grew up in. Now they've actually changed since then, but so you would like exit out and you would basically be outside, in a breezeway, walking back and forth to like a single loaded exterior courtyard or exterior corridor to then go to like your next class. Most of these were actually, like 2 stories and 3 stories. And in 5th grade, this is going to just like open up all kinds of like, oh yeah, that's what's wrong with you kind of things. But so in 5th grade,
we were dropped on his head as a baby.
Well, we were all standing at the railing, which I'm pretty sure wasn't guardrail height.
Well, you were smaller then. It didn't.
This guy was just like, bet you won't jump over.
Oh, so if your friend told you to jump off a bridge, would you?
Yeah. So I'm like,
turns out.
I was like, I will if you will. And
he's like, you first.
Well, no. So he went first, but he hung. He basically climbed over the handrail and then climbed down, and he was hanging there. And
he did.
So he was dangling, and he dropped.
Yeah.
I
You were like, I'm in a Marvel movie.
I stood on top of the handrails and jumped off.
Oh God.
And when I hit the ground, I heard crunching, I heard like buckling, I heard all sorts of things. And I'm of
The
course
wrong kinds of sounds.
and I'm of course, I'm a fifth grader. So what are you, 10? Something like that, 10, 11 years old, 10, I don't know. And so I'm just like laying there in absolute just sheer agony and pain. The mental, I would say let me lay back down on the couch here. So the mental baggage of that impact is one of the things that has definitely led towards my fear of heights. Because when, most people
you
are
never
just
got
like,
over it.
Well, I really honestly do know what it feels like to fall from like a 2-story height and feel the pain of it. Yes, it was improper landing, and yes, it was just stupid in its own right and all this other stuff. But I swear to you, like, if I feel there's 2 ways that I approach like going into going to very large heights and stuff. I mean, I worked on a 15-story building where we were doing a bunch of surveying and walking up on the roof and taking photographs and like kind of like leaning over the parapet and like looking down the side to see like the delamination of the brick, on this 15-story building. And for some reason, I had no problem with that because the parapet was up pretty high and it was almost at like chest level. But if I walked a little bit further away from that parapet to another parapet that was low, that was below my waist, I couldn't go near it. I was like, no. My knees started to shake and just everything about it, I just could not do it. It's so weird because I have this like fear of heights that if I'm protected, I'm okay, and I don't have it. If it feels like it's an unsafe height, then my body just will refuse to work.
So that's in an outdoor setting. What about like indoors? Like what is an appropriate barrier for you? So does glass count?
It's interesting that you just led off with like the one thing that if it's glass that has a horizontal mullion.
I know the answer to this question, but I'm just for the audience benefit right here.
But if it's glass with a horizontal mullion that feels like a handrail, then I'm semi okay.
So if it was just painted onto the glass, you'd be fine. Like it doesn't even have to be structural.
No. I mean, but I've both designed like like this butt glazed system that's like ceiling to floor, and I couldn't even walk up to it. I was like, nah,
that's not true. Come on, I get it.
I know I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, we have a photo
because we were standing right there at the top of Freedom Tower.
Yep.
And yes, I did walk all the way up to that one because I knew I knew
you didn't like it though.
I didn't like it, but I did have in the back of my mind that it was designed. So like I was like, they've at least met code, so I'm okay. It's funny that you say it that way. It's pretty new. It's definitely meeting the most current standards. It's all the way up there. So it's meeting impact resistance. It's all of that. So you should have seen me on my first class trip to the Sears Tower, now Willis Tower, in Chicago. And I had that kind of same kind of, almost feeling. And I have not been back since they put those little like glass boxes that kind of project out.
I was wondering about those.
I don't know if I could handle that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you couldn't. Because I think even at the floor to ceiling glass, like you walked up to it very slowly.
Oh, you noticed that, huh?
I think it was kind of noticeable. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you had to walk out over it, I don't. Yeah.
So here's a funny story. Is that so? When I was in Paris, I bought tickets to go to the top of the Eiffel Tower. And so as anybody who's actually ever been there knows that the elevator goes up and it stops at the lowest level, lets people out. Then it goes up to the next level, lets people out, and then it goes all the way to the top. I think I've got that right. I think there's only like 3 stops. Might be more, but who knows? Because I didn't make it to the top. Because I could feel the thing. I swear it felt like it was moving. I swear that when I was just like, nope, can't do it. I got out and then the people that I was with, they like, immediately walked up to the handrail. Like, oh God, you should check out that view. I'm like, yeah, I'm good right here. I think I may have made it to the handrail, but if my memory serves me correctly, I basically stayed like up against the back, like center core.
So their architecture can put the fear into you for sure. If it doesn't harm you, it can put the fear in, and that seems to have something to do with heights. I if anybody knows me, I am not afraid of heights at all. But I'm wondering if you have been to the top of Empire State, which is open air. Maybe it's not even the top. It's like the 80th floor or something. It's like the roof deck. Have you been out there? Okay, I'm just wondering if being outdoors matters versus indoors.
Well,
you can't get to the edge, right? Like on Empire State, there is a tall guardrail made out of stone, and then there's bars on top of that.
And then
right?
there's the guard, the cage that basically kind of bends upward so that people can't like climb up it and over.
Yeah, it's obviously made to.
I bet I probably wouldn't have a problem with that.
You're pretty solid feeling there. So
here's a funny thing, because I actually went to the top of the New York Times building.
Okay. Which is one of your favorites.
Yeah. And that one, I didn't have an issue with walking to the edge of that one. And that one was actually at a guard. It was just guardrail height. And for some reason, I just didn't even think about it.
I think also the weather kind of has something to do with it when it is outdoors, right? Like if it's windy and blustery and you feel like all of a sudden you're going to turn into a kite, it gives you pause.
There is some like weird little like connection between like feeling unstable and being able to convince yourself that you are stable. At least in my head. I have no idea why. I will say that the New York Times building, though, is so well put together that, I do gush on that one a little bit.
Well, there's the building downtown LA, the US Bank Tower, that has a glass slide that goes out over nothing.
Yeah.
I haven't done that, but I've heard I would do it. I wouldn't have a problem doing it.
That's an invention of the devil.
Yeah. And then like Grand Canyon on one of the Indian reservations, they have the giant glass kind of horseshoe shaped bridge thing that you can go out on.
So
have you seen those ones where they actually have the video that plays in the glass, and wherever you step, it's like tracking you and it cracks?
Yes.
Oh God.
Yeah.
That's that's mean.
What a horrible thing to do to people.
Talk about being designed by the devil.
Exactly. You know what's funny is I don't know if I could actually do that. I've always joked that I wanted to design a house that cantilevers over a cliff and have a glass floor. But here's the problem. If I did that, I would never be able to go out there. I wouldn't be able to go into that room.
Even if you designed it, like you're detailing it, you know what it's going to be made of.
That's true.
Yeah, that's a good hypothetical. Would you do that? I like those ones where it's just like the net, so you go out there and you kind of lay on it like you're just hanging out, having a good time, right? Like you're relaxing on this net thing suspended over nothing.
Relaxing. Sure. Yeah.
I have not been to the Willis Tower ones either, where they have the boxes protruding out the sides like you were talking about earlier, but that has a glass bottom. Those are fully glass, right? Like 5-sided glass. You can walk through one side and then you're out in this glass cube hanging off the side of a building. Yeah, that's cool. I would do that.
And I have seen videos of people reacting to it where they just freak out.
Yeah, totally. Like, the videos I'm thinking of where the glass is like cracking via, special effects. Those people are terrified.
Oh yeah.
Cause they don't know that it's fake, right? Somebody's playing a joke on them, telling them to go out there, and I'm going to get a video of you going out on this thing that you're already not happy about going out on. And then the glass starts cracking.
And then of course, then the person who's videoing it is laughing.
Yeah. Yeah. And this person's like, I'm about to die and you're laughing.
Screaming up a storm.
Brutal.
So the gruesome one was still as a kid growing up in Florida. All of the houses were made out of concrete block, and the side of the house had this kind of like little L-shaped knee wall that's where you put your garbage cans. Every house had them. Well, ours, so it wasn't where, and here's where I found out, there's some ramifications to this occurrence that now has, and I was just talking about it today. I was talking to somebody about my kind of like militant coursing, kind of like, like the way that you detail CMU is like, there's an art, and, there's particular ways of doing it, so that it's, corners are keyed in and all this other stuff. And so, we were talking about it, and they were like, hey, how far off of a corner should a door be, when you're.
This is when you just hand the graphic standards book. It is all in there.
It's all in there, sure. But, I've got it all committed to memory. And so I do wonder if, like, the way that other than the fact that my first boss, in Florida kind of just drilled home, like, coursing. Yeah. So this particular knee wall. So they didn't tooth in the corners. So it was just basically one stacked block teed into another stacked block. And so there was no real, corner. And so over time, me and the neighbor kid, we used to just like stand on top of the thing,
So you're saying like they did a butt joint between two separate walls, basically? Yep. Okay. So they weren't keyed together. Yeah, I wanted to make sure that everyone's getting the same mental image here.
Yeah. So over time, the thing started to like wobble, and it's probably about 3 feet from that wall to the fence, and it's probably about, I don't know, maybe a 4 foot. So obviously, if it fell over, it's just basically going to like it kind of wedge itself.
Okay.
I want you to
diagonally. Got it.
Yeah, diagonally.
Okay.
Now picture your neighborhood friend who, after that friendship was called into question because standing on top of it, rocking it back and forth while I'm standing next to it up against the fence. Both the weight of the wall and the weight of him comes crashing down while it basically, the corner of it is rushing across from my knee to about maybe 6 inches above my ankle.
Oh.
Now picture that, because it's the corner, all it did was rip my leg wide open.
Yeah.
To the bone.
Okay, I was trying to go for this with this topic, but wow.
I don't think that you actually, I apologize to everybody who's probably like eating or, enjoying their morning. Yeah. Do we have to put the E on this?
This is where you give the warning of skipping ahead because you can't do it now. Oh my gosh.
Actually, yeah. So even though, we'd gone to the doctors and, had it all like looked at and all this other stuff, it got infected to the point of a staph infection. That was like, and I don't know if anybody knows anything about staph infections, but, if it got into the bone, I wouldn't have had a leg.
Yeah. And,
jeez. Spent 3 weeks in the hospital trying to save my leg.
My gosh.
And so if anybody ever walks up to me and kicks me on the side of my right leg, I won't feel it.
Oh, I thought you were going to say like, you were giving them like some inside info of how to actually take you down, but you're saying the opposite is true.
No, I wouldn't feel a thing. Like it severed nerves. It was not a, yeah. Sorry, everyone.
Sorry.
So now, if you ever work with me and you guys hear me go all militant on, proper detailing of CMU masonry,
this is why.
This is why.
Oh my gosh. What a good story. So architecture can, I won't want to say it can kill you, but I mean, of course it can, but it can definitely maim you.
It can. Remember, if you recall, way back in the day when we had that conversation about Death by Architecture.
Right.
And we kind of talked about a couple of different architects that I kind of did some quick research on them, their untimely deaths due to architecture or their love of architecture.
That's right.
Coming to bite them back. Like,
I'll put a link to that in the show notes because I forgot about that episode.
Yeah. Is this? I apologize to everybody who just had to listen to that.
Well, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. This was fun.
Yeah. Why am I hungry?
Thanks for listening. This show is part of the Gable Media Podcast Network. See all the shows at gablemedia.com. That's GABLMEDIA.com. You can help support what we're doing here by leaving a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts to help get the word out, and don't forget to share it with your friends. We'd love to hear from you, so leave a comment on the website at archispeakpodcast.com, where you can find our entire catalog of shows. Talk to you soon.